Senator Landrieu.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, thank you for taking the initiative to hold this hearing today, and I thank all the members of this committee for your very thoughtful opening remarks, particularly in regards to the men that were lost in this incident and their families. Many of them came from the Gulf Coast. But, Madam Chair, you are aware of the ongoing and urgent needs of Louisiana's coast. I have brought this to your attention, as well as other members of our delegation, for some time now. But as we begin to understand this tragedy and to put it in perspective, I think a few facts are important. And I gave the same testimony to the Energy Committee this morning as I'm giving to the Environmental Committee, because I think it's important to be consistent and balanced in our message. There are over 300,000 men and women that work in the oil industry in Louisiana. There are 1.8 million that work nationally. And many people that work in this industry are proud of the contributions that this industry makes to our country every day. We owe the workers of this industry a debt of gratitude for what they do. It is dangerous, hard work, sometimes separated from their families, and the members of the Gulf Coast delegation have a resolution before the Senate I hope we will pass today. There's some other perspective that's important. From 1947 until today, there have been 42,645 wells drilled in state and federal waters in the Gulf of Mexico alone. The first deep well was not drilled yesterday. It was drilled 31 years ago in 1979. That well was drilled in 1,000 feet of water. We have 2,250 deep water wells drilled since then. In fact, as I questioned the executives this morning from BP and Transocean, Madam Chair, there are 120 deep water wells operating worldwide today. The record will show that from 1947 until 2009, 175,813 barrels have been spilled out of 16 billion produced. That is 1,000th of 1% of total production. Madam Chair, I know that this committee has its eyes on the environment. We in Louisiana live in that environment. We don't only have our eyes in it, we have our heart invested in it, and we're making a living on that delta. But we need the oil that comes from offshore to keep this economy moving. We must examine what went wrong, weigh the risk and rewards, and fix what is broken and move on to get this country more independent of foreign oil. If we could do without this oil, we would, but we simply can't, not today, not in the near future, maybe sometime in the distant future. But we use 20 million barrels of oil a day. We're only producing 9 here at home. If we just transport this off of our shore, we transport the environmental risk and we transport jobs. We must find out what went wrong, hold BP accountable, and on the record they said they will be accountable under oath for all economic damage. And finally, and thank you for your patience, our delegation has repeatedly come to this Congress for the last 25 years saying, yes, these resources belong to the federal government, but the Gulf Coast states, including Florida, that do not drill, and I will say this on their behalf, are absorbing 100% of this risk. And so revenue sharing is very important from the billions of dollars generated from this industry to make sure it's safe, that we have the appropriate response, and that this country gets the energy it needs. I agree with Senator Alexander about nuclear power and its promise, but for right now, let's focus on holding those responsible for the damage. Let's focus on moving this industry forward in a more safe way and hold people responsible so all economic damages to anyone affected are met. And thank you again for your initiative.